Welcome back to News 9 every Thursday here at 9 a.m. We actually go in depth in our conversation with Oklahoma City Police Chief Wade Gourley.
This week, we are chatting with the chief about how communication between law enforcement was vital in their response to the shooting at the Choctaw High School football game last Friday night. Here's Lisa Monahan.
Oklahoma City Police Chief Wade Gourley in studio this morning to talk about issues facing our city. And of course, a big topic in the last week has been last Friday's shooting at Choctaw High School. A lot of people concerned about safety at events like this. Can you kind of walk us through what your law enforcement officers will do in an instance like this? I know you guys assisted in the law enforcement response when that incident occurred.
Sure. So the event happened in Choctaw's jurisdiction, which is also Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction as well. And so the only time we would get involved or be involved in a situation like that in that instance was through a request for aid. That request was made. We work very well with all the other chiefs in the metro area. We meet regularly and discuss, you know, what's going on. So when those calls for help go out, we will respond. And that's what we did, provided resources, provided officers to help evacuate the scene, contain witnesses, try and, you know, control the scene as much as you can. I mean, imagine a football game, that's a pretty large stadium there too, and trying to get everything locked down. And then we also assisted with our helicopter. Air One was there in the initial search and just identifying the size of the scene and those things as well. And we had a couple of drones out there to help with that also.
And why is it so important to have that cooperation between law enforcement agencies in an event like this?
You know, there's an old saying, if you wait until something like this happens to open up those lines of communication, then you're going to fail. So having those lines of communication ahead of time and just, you know, knowing each other and knowing the locations and the ability to interact like that. And one thing too that the city of Oklahoma City has done that has really helped us is a lot of the agencies in the metro now are on our radio system. Our radio system encompasses the whole metro, the entire metro area. So that really helps us. So when something happens in one of these smaller surrounding communities, oftentimes they can communicate with us by radio. So we know that. We know we have those radio frequencies, and our dispatch also knows how to patch us together so that we can talk.
And obviously this incident didn't occur in your jurisdiction, but there are a lot of schools, a lot of high schools in your jurisdiction. How do you guys prepare and respond to an event like this?
You know, it's very interesting with Oklahoma City. We have a lot of school districts within our city limits that aren't necessarily Oklahoma City schools. For example, Moore Schools. I had a conversation with their director of security, and they're now, I think actually they had instituted this process before this actually happened in Choctaw, but it's a fairly new process where they're going to have weapon detection systems coming in. And so we talked about that and what extra security and what we can do to assist them on anything that occurs in Oklahoma City limits. And then also too, the Oklahoma City Public Schools did a press conference yesterday and talked about weapons detecting systems that they'll have when people enter the events like the football games, and we provide police officers already to be the security at those games as well. So we're just making sure we're staying in communication and that we understand what the school's procedures are going to be, doing everything we can to keep people safe, keep weapons from getting in to these events, because I mean, again, you combine that with a large crowd and you know, you're just asking for trouble. And these systems, people are probably more familiar than they realize. These detection systems, they're very similar, if not identical, to what they deploy at the state fair each year that everybody has to walk through when they enter. And so you're seeing more and more of those. They're becoming a little more cost effective, and they're also getting much better at only detecting weapons instead of, you know, keys in your pocket and other things like that. So it doesn't really slow the process for getting in and out of the facility.
Obviously, games happening tonight, it's Thursday night, and then tomorrow, Friday night. Will people expect to see your officers, whether on duty or even off duty, as hired as security at these events? I
think you will. It just depends on the location. If it's within our jurisdiction, you know, we'll have officers there and doing everything that we can to be safe. And a lot of people, too, you know, don't realize there's a lot of things that go on the back side of that. There's things that you see visible with the police officers, but then there's intelligence gathering, and you know, we have analysts and there's cameras around the city now that can monitor things that are going on. So, and the school systems also have very good security capabilities. Most of them have cameras and things that we can access, you know, to make sure that everyone stays safe.
And that is the big question. A lot of parents asking, will my student be safe if they head out to one of these events? And just to kind of restore confidence in the community, OCPD handles a lot of large events similar to a football game, if not larger, like the State Fair and the Thunder basketball games. Can you kind of tell people, this isn't a foreign concept to you guys on how to police these events?
Absolutely. And I mean, it can be anything. You know, there's the Memorial Marathon. We have, you know, different runs around the city oftentimes that are fundraisers for, you know, different causes and things like that. So there is some large event going on in Oklahoma City every week. And we're used to dealing with that and standing up those necessary resources. And again, it's what you have behind the scenes that is sometimes as or more important than what you see and what is visible. But we're going to be working very hard to make sure everybody's safe. I don't want to see anything like that again. That was horrible, you know, to wake up on a Saturday morning and see that not only on local news, but on the national news. That's not what we want to be known for here in Oklahoma. And we want, I mean, kids playing sporting events, we know that those events and sports in general help keep kids in school. We sure don't want things like that to happen that could disrupt that when it's such a good thing for those kids.
Well, Chief, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thanks for being with us. If you have a question for the Chief, you can send it to chatwiththechief@griffin.news and we'll get you some answers.